Does entertainment, music, and pop culture feel broken to you? That's not just nostalgia for what it once was. The culture is busted. Entertainment industries have been highly corporatized and increasingly driven by money and power for executives the last few decades. What happened to the vibrant music culture of the late 1900s? Selling off of music catalogs from massive artists to massive corporations, the monopolies we know as Ticketmaster and Live Nation, streaming consolidation, streaming services paying artists next to nothing, as well as just a lot less entertainment that you love. They're still playing Don't Stop Believing in every public space. Compare music from the 70s to the 90s to the 2000s on, and the comparison can be pretty bleak, both in quality and especially in quantity. Y2K happened in a different way than was expected. And suddenly gone were the days with a sense of community and artistic integrity, as we saw in previous decades. In 1999, there seemed to be one last distinct community movement that said the world around us matters. We have a platform, let's use that platform for good, collectively. That effort was Hip Hop for Respect, Mos Def, Common, Talib Kweli, Paz Denus from De La Soul, Company Flow. Literally 40 rappers came together to produce an EP to protest the barbaric and unlawful killing of Amadou Diallo in New York by 4 racists. I mean, police officers. Sometimes I get the two things confused for some reason. Nina Simone once put it beautifully, an artist's duty, as far as I'm concerned, is to reflect the times. It's this kind of artist activism and voice that has largely disappeared since Y2K. Y2K would have been a lot cooler. But Y2K didn't happen. What happened instead was late-stage capitalism. And around this time, music groups and collective efforts amongst artists would begin disappearing. Groups, girl groups, boy bands, bands were everywhere in the 90s, and the vibe was immaculate. Music industry just think it easier to market solo artists than group. Justin Timberlake. Get out of it, or else. The bling era really should have been one of the first late-stage Capitainment indicators. The money, the hoes. The hoes! The years go on. Birdman made out with Lil Wayne a few dozen times. P. Diddy was doing things, and Nas said hip-hop was dead. And now we have Drake and Katy Perry. A lot of people say Nas was wrong because we still see good hip-hop today and music today, even in 2025. But there has been an obvious degradation in hip-hop, and not just in that microcosm of culture either, and not just in music. We have seen this the last 20 plus years in every form of entertainment. I loved This Is Us, I loved The Pit, I loved The Rehearsal, I loved Sinners. But there is less groundbreaking entertainment by the day. When you have a system run by billionaires and corporate executives that propagate nothing but hyper-individualism, anti-intellectualism, and individual profit, while they continue to exploit working people at an alarming rate, entertainment will suffer. This extends to the artists in that artists do not own the means of production. The corporate studios, labels, and executives do.
Who am I? Why am I talking about this? What am I doing to change it?
In 2021, after years of being a
music producer, activist, singer, journalist, filmmaker, avid Josie fan, avid Tupac fan, avid Kate Bush fan, as well as graphic designer, copywriter, social media manager,
and a kind sweetheart of a soul, I founded BPS, short for Bulletproof Soul, an entertainment conglomerate with a music group. One of those silly newsletters you can receive via email for $7 a month. And plans for world domination. No, but we do strive to be a movement for labor rights and artist rights within entertainment industries. I was really inspired by things like Hip Hop for Respect, which bridged activism and music. Things that bridged community and music, like De La Soul, or A Tribe Called Quest, or Zulu Nation. Dead Prez, or even BTS and K-pop, which has done such a phenomenal job with music groups the past decade. The Black Panther movement was a huge influence for their emphasis on labor rights, human rights, allyship, and solidarity. After a few years of basically just doing content on Substack, TikTok, and Instagram, 2023 was the year where Bulletproof Soul would release Grasping Things at the Root, following a few other project releases from myself and Nigeria. The title of the album, Grasping Things at the Root, came from an Angela Davis quote, "Being radical is simply grasping things at the root." I came up with a concept for the album, a concept that was simple, but pretty important. People in America tend to believe some pretty problematic things due to propaganda and social conditioning, and the lyrics in the album were purposely made a bit unhinged to display that. The story of it follows an arc of a character who has quite problematic views, but eventually finds himself growing into a more mature and grounded person, until the pressures of capitalism catch up to the person, leading to an ambiguous ending with the help of our lovely DJ Sabrina, the teenage DJ. You can read more on the concept of the album on Rap Genius or these articles. You're probably wondering how I got to work with all these artists. And the answer is, I don't know, but kind of. So in 2018, I worked in social media marketing, and a lot of my clients were artists. And this is where I would meet really good friends to this day, and Bulletproof Soul artists such as Nigeria, Kenjita, FK Garland, just to name a few, which is well documented in this Sun Sentinel article written by my friend Niall Fortner, who conned his way onto the album cover, along with the stoner above him, Mike Honcho. Some of the artists, it was just the good old-fashioned Instagram moots, to friends, to will you join my music and art collective pipeline. Artists like Nigeria, Slow Jams, 29, Ecob King, Lofty 305, and Ali Wisdom were prevalent in the Miami music scene for their connections to world-class rappers such as Denzel Curry, XXXTentacion, or Space Ghost Perp. And then Angela Davis, Amouranth, and DJ Sabrina joined us. Honestly, those three were just from reaching out. I shot my shot. I'm not afraid to say it. I guess this is a good time to talk about the Amouranth stuff. What I've respected about her is her bravery to speak about her personal life, her capability of speaking on issues that impact women, or her working with a progressive org last year during the election, Progressive Victory. Amouranth and her team have given me countless reassurance that they want to continue to be a part of Bulletproof Soul. She obviously knows we're very progressive, and she's continued to keep our affiliation, which I hope can ease some concerns of fans that she may have went rightward. I can't and won't speak on her behalf, but some fans might ask us why we continue to platform someone that has said some of the things she's said recently. And the truth is, we're not platforming someone that has almost over 1 million followers on like every platform. She's platforming us, as would any artist that's that big that wants to work with us. Also though, if we can show charitability and influence that person with that platform to be more progressive and informed, with that, we're doing one of the things we set out to do at Bulletproof Soul within entertainment. As a leftist in a world that is very reactionary for the majority, we have to believe we can fill an educational gap and show grace that can allow for growth. With how the media landscape has shifted right the last few years, we have to strive to change minds in entertainment where we can. If we only work with perfect people, we'll never build something that's real, something that's lasting, something that's bulletproof. I'd rather potentially convince someone to the left than to cancel someone into the arms of the right. Some might call it radical empathy. I just call it good praxis. And this is basically the concept of the concept album. Back to DJ Sabrina and Angela Davis. DJ Sabrina is an artist I've really enjoyed since earlier in her career with Making Magic. I wanted to help her continue to grow her career, and so I hopped in the DMs one day, and we've been friends since. Angela Davis and her manager were very open with us, probably because of solidarity and having the same worldview, but also probably because we already named the album Grasping Things at the Root. Nigeria and Lofty 305 would help executive produce alongside myself and Netherlands-based producer Shintek Beats. So once everyone came together and signed their photo release, I designed this sick album cover inspired by A Tribe Called Quest's Midnight Marauders because I felt that was a good example of a sense of community within music, and being culturally referential is fun. Bulletproof Soul was named after that Sade song, Bulletproof Soul. I don't know if you might have noticed that. So once the album came out, it got a decent reception. Some favorable, some mixed, but it wasn't streamed a lot. We didn't have the funding, backing, or industry resources that mainstream or even sometimes indie artists receive. That's where we're at in the music industry. Everyone that makes it is an industry plant to some degree. Some Bulletproof Soul members are famous, and we could still barely get a response from the majority of music journalists, sync professionals, or prospective managers that we would reach out to. A great example is the lack of transparency on streaming services when it comes to landing on algorithmic playlists. You can write a pitch to Spotify, for instance, when you submit your music, but you'll never know why you're either selected for algorithmic playlists or not. And algorithmic playlists are crucial to getting any sort of motion on digital streaming providers. This is basically because Spotify, the multinational corporation, won't pay up to staff enough industry workers to have a necessary level of transparency. And why is this? Because they allow an infinite amount of artists on the platform without any kind of vetting whatsoever. So they won't staff enough industry workers, and they are also causing oversaturation of artists. So that oversaturation that they're causing means a lot of serious indie artists are being overlooked. I don't mind being transparent about these struggles that we've faced because 90% of the music industry are facing the exact same hurdles. With that being said, I don't know when our next album will come out. It costs money to make music, and it costs money to market music. And when it's so incredibly difficult to get your music seen today, it leaves for a lot of uncertainty. Only the big artists have industry backing, and that would be okay if there was equity there to some degree for all artists. But it's not. And it doesn't help when AI artists are flooding streaming services as well. And just anyone is able to passively be on digital streaming providers, meaning that things are overly saturated, but that the culture is also more fractured and less unified than ever before. This person over here is listening to the Mr. T Experience, and this person over here is listening to the Pistol Whippin' Party Penguins. Amidst my frustration with the political and economic state of the world, I started a petition gauging the awareness of these issues, getting a few hundred signatures, before putting it in the background when the orange guy won the election again and made it illegal to be woke again. I do want to use our platform at Bulletproof Soul to continue shining light on talent that entertainment industries are ignoring, and also what we can do systemically to improve entertainment industries, make them more just and equitable for those who are not born into immense privilege. I don't know who I would be without all of the art, entertainment, and pop culture that I've consumed. And it's insulting that we continue to see these industries so fractured and gatekept. So if you feel this way too, the answer is organizing. The answer is using your voice for betterment. The answer could also be subscribing to my YouTube channel to support my efforts. The answer is trying things. That's also what the album is about. Trying to make it in a rigged system. But you can always take your passion seriously and try regardless. People need your voice and your work more than you know. You might not always succeed, but eventually you might. Or you might influence someone to do something that will. Tupac once said, "I'm not saying I'm going to change the world, but I guarantee I will spark the brain that will change the world. As for Bulletproof Soul, we'll always be here in the fight to prevent fascist, anti-intellectual, corporate greed from destroying culture as we know it. We will eventually be releasing a limited supply CD run of our last album, and we will be gradually working towards our next album in the meantime. When the stars align. But our music group is not the Bulletproof Soul. The name Bulletproof Soul is to say the soul of the culture can be bulletproof. The name was to say the legacy of the artists you love will live on. The culture will live on, but only if you advocate and fight for it. The things you love are always worth fighting for.
So many shots blocked, I gave up the rock, trying to beat the clock. This my last shot, I'll give it all that I got, all that I got.
Swishing, find a three, it's all on me. Got game, no aim, but I shoot the three.